How's it going, my peeps? It is now time for the Raw results / highlights and review video. I'll go over the Raw results, some highlights, and give you guys my thoughts on the show. So it all kicks off with John Cena coming out. He says that the world title matches are official, that Del Rio is going to be facing Jack Swagger for the World Heavyweight Championship, and The Rock is going to be facing John Cena for the WWE Championship. And then CM Punk interrupts, and he says The Rock beat him fair and square last night if you disregard the fact that The Rock hit a referee, and so he should have been disqualified, and CM Punk should have been the champion. So, you know what, that was a good point. I didn't think of that last night. You know, when The Rock bumps into the referee, that could have been a disqualification, and CM Punk could have won the championship. So CM Punk has a good point there. Anyways, they go on for a while, where, John Cena says he deserves to go on to Wrestlemania since he won the Rumble, and then CM Punk says Cena doesn't deserve it because of his win-loss record against CM Punk. He hasn't beaten CM Punk, and that CM Punk deserves it because he was holding the championship for 434 days. So John Cena asks CM Punk what he wants. CM Punk says, "I want you gone, out of my life, just leave." John Cena pretends like he's about to leave, but then he says he can't give away like a golden opportunity or golden ticket like that. So he proposes a match, John Cena versus CM Punk. If CM Punk beats him, he gets that world title match or WWE Championship match against The Rock at WrestleMania. But if John Cena beats him, then John Cena, gets the match at WrestleMania, and CM Punk has to shut up about it. CM Punk says that was the stupidest decision you've made, but CM Punk says he's going to do it on his terms, not tonight. He's going to do it next week, so John Cena agrees. So next week's going to be John Cena versus CM Punk, and whoever wins faces The Rock for the title. After that, backstage segment where Sheamus is getting interviewed, talking about the Shield and how they won the match last night, and Ryback is like walking back and forth while Sheamus is doing this interview. So Sheamus gets mad, tells Ryback, you're not the only one that's mad about this. And he says, you're a beast, blah, blah, blah. Or are you just like everybody says, Neanderthal something, I forgot. So Ryback gets mad, pushes Sheamus, but then Chris Jericho comes up to them and separates them before they fight. And he says, he wants to save this company from the Shield. So he proposes a match, Chris Jericho, Ryback, and Sheamus versus the Shield. He says he's going to suggest this match to Vickie, see if she accepts. And Sheamus, is happy about that. Or he says, if he can make that match happen, that'll be good. Same with Ryback. And that was pretty much it. And then Sin Cara's in the ring for a match against Mark Henry. Mark Henry just dominates him, wins the matchup with the World's Strongest Slam. After the match, he was about to hit the World's Strongest Slam once again on Sin Cara, but the Great Khali comes out for the save. So Mark Henry just throws Sin Cara out of the way, and it looked like he was about to fight the Great Khali, but he gets out of the ring and actually starts mocking the Great Khali's dance moves on the outside, which was pretty funny seeing Mark Henry do that, especially, at this point in time where he's this monster that just destroys everybody. And then it's announced that Vickie has agreed to the 6-man tag team match for tonight, Chris Jericho, Ryback, and Sheamus versus the Shield. And then they also announce The Miz versus Antonio Cesaro in a little disqualification match due to last night's result of the match. So Miz and Antonio Cesaro come out for the matchup. Pretty quick match. I think the only weapon they used was the steel chair. The Miz got right into a steel chair, and also in the end, The Miz shoved Antonio Cesaro onto a steel chair, locked on the figure 4, and Antonio Cesaro tapped out. So The Miz wins the matchup, non-title by the way, but a victory nonetheless over Antonio Cesaro. And then they show a video package of Zeb Colter and Jack Swagger, where they talk about immigration and says, people are crossing the borders expecting handouts. Well, the only handouts Jack Swagger and Zeb Colter will give them is a handout back to wherever they came from. And then they had a backstage segment where it was Kane and Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan saying he doesn't feel comfortable tagging with Kane after what happened last night at the Elimination Chamber. And he says he's booked, or not booked, but he's asked Vickie for a singles match against Jack Swagger, and he doesn't want Kane to come out with him. So Kane says maybe he'll also ask for a singles match, and he doesn't want Daniel Bryan to come out either. And then Daniel Bryan says he won't, so Kane says he better not because he doesn't like snakes. And then we hear somebody say, "Did you say my name or call me?" or something like that. So Kane turns around, it's Randy. And Kane goes and tells him how he doesn't like snakes, and when he sees one, he stomps on his head with his boot. Randy then says there was a point in time where he would have been scared after Kane told him that. But now that he's traded his choke slams, tombstone pile drivers for like anger management therapy sessions or hug outs or whatever, he doesn't really find them scary anymore. He's no longer the big red monster, and that he's more like Barney now. So then Daniel Bryan laughs, and Kane turns around and says, you know, you think it's funny, and then he turns back around, and Randy's no longer there. And then Vickie's backstage. Paul Heyman comes up to her and is like, you know, you called for me? She says, yeah. She says, first off, congratulations on putting this, you know, these like amazing stipulations or whatever for The Rock versus CM Punk, but The Rock still, you know, won the championship and beat CM Punk despite the stipulations. And then she says she has some huge news for Paul Heyman, and it's gonna affect his life. No, actually not his life, but his entire career. So Paul Heyman tells her what's the news. She says she's gonna announce it inside the ring. Paul Heyman says he doesn't like surprises. Vickie says she knows, and then she leaves. And then Dolph Ziggler came out for a matchup against the world champion Del Rio. They have a good match. In the end, I think Del Rio's about to lock on the cross armbreaker, but Big E gets on the apron, so Del Rio hit Big E with a dropkick. He actually dropkicked Big E's leg, so Big E fell. And then Dolph, I think, went for the jumping DDT, but he didn't connect, and Del Rio locked on the cross armbreaker. Dolph taps. After the match, Big E attacks Del Rio, hits his finisher on him. Dolph thinks about cashing in, grabs the briefcase, but Ricardo grabs the briefcase off of Dolph Ziggler, runs away with it. Big E runs after him, and Ricardo drops it on like the top of the ramp, and Big E follows, you know, Ricardo backstage. AJ then runs up to the briefcase, grabs it, gives it to Dolph, but then when Dolph turns around and gets hit with an enzuigiri from Del Rio, so he didn't cash it in. That was a pretty unique way, though, to stop a cash-in. And then Wade Barrett was in the ring to... He was talking about how he's a big superstar, and now he's going to be a big movie star when the new movie he's in comes out, Dead Man Down. He shows the trailer, and in the trailer, we barely see Barrett. I mean, you can't even see him that clearly. So, yeah, he shows the trailer, and you can barely see Barrett unless you're, you know, looking for him, really looking for him. And, you know, it's mostly not about him. He's just, you know, one of the cops or something like that in the trailer. And he doesn't talk or anything. So then after the trailer, you know, is over, Sheamus goes on a Titantron, or is on a Titantron, and he says that Wade Barrett's not the star of the movie, Colin Farrell is. And somebody like talks to Sheamus and tells him that time's up, so he's like, oh, time's up, and that's pretty much it for the segment. Anyways, after that, they have Brodus, Clay, and Tensai versus Primo and Epico. Clay and Tensai win with a double body splash, just like at the Elimination Chamber. And then came time for the State of the Union address, so Swagger and Zeb Colter are in the ring. Zeb Colter is the one giving the State of the Union address. He says it sucks or whatever because of the millions of people living in the country illegally and stuff like that. And that it's a big problem that they have to fix. And that real Americans, you know, they need to say no more. And Jack Swagger is the guy to do that. And that at WrestleMania, Jack Swagger will not only win the World Heavyweight Championship, but he will also reclaim America. And then they start chanting, we the people, until Daniel Bryan's music hits and he comes out for a match against Jack Swagger. Daniel Bryan put up a good fight. He actually locked on the low lock, but Jack Swagger got his foot on the ropes, and in the end, Jack Swagger locks on the Patriot Lock, and Daniel Bryan taps out, so Jack Swagger wins the matchup. Vickie's then in the ring with Paul Heyman for his surprise. She announces that Brad Maddox is her new assistant. Paul Heyman says, is that really your surprise? Is that my cue to vomit? And then he says he doesn't care what these two have to say, and he was about to leave, but then Vince McMahon appears on a Titantron, and Vince says, you know, last week or whatever, was it last week? I think it was. When he made the stipulation for The Rock versus CM Punk, Paul Heyman on the phone told him he would do anything for that stipulation. And he replayed that footage. So Vince McMahon says anything, that can mean, you know, I could fire you right now. But Vince McMahon decides not to fire Paul Heyman and says instead, next week, he's going to be in the ring with Paul Heyman and they're going to have a fight. Afterwards, it's time for the 6-man tag team match, so Jericho, Sheamus, and Ryback all come out, followed by the Shield. It's just a regular 6-man tag team match like the Elimination Chamber. Right in the beginning of the matchup, Ryback had Seth Rollins in the corner and started attacking him, hitting a shoulder tackle, and the referee was counting. He was about to count 5, but Jericho stopped Ryback and told him he'd get disqualified, so Jericho took over. And when Sheamus took over, he went on a roll. He was really fighting it out with Roman Reigns. And he actually hit the bro kick on Dean Ambrose, who was on the apron. So Dean Ambrose hit the barricade. They also did the same spot as the Elimination Chamber, where Roman Reigns speared Ryback when he had Seth Rollins up for the shell shock. And also in the end, you had Ryback taken out outside, and Sheamus fighting it out outside with Roman Reigns. And in the ring, Jericho had the Lion Tamer, Walls of Jericho, on Dean Ambrose. And then Seth Rollins hit his springboard knee to Jericho's head. Dean Ambrose pins Jericho and gets the victory, so the Shield wins once again. I'm happy about that. Glad the Shield got another victory. I mean, I actually was predicting them to win again. After last night's victory, I was predicting, okay, the Shield's going to win this one too. I don't think they're going to lose until maybe WrestleMania. So, yeah. Big victory for the Shield. And then after that, Kofi Kingston is in the ring. Damien Sandow comes out, talks about President's Day, and then he attacks Kofi Kingston before the bell even rings, attacks him on the outside, inside, hits him with a couple of knees, and then our Truth's music hits. He comes back, he spears Damien Sandow, puts him back in the ring, hits the scissors kick, and then clotheslines Damien Sandow out of the ring. He then checks up on R-Truth, and that's pretty much it. Afterwards, they had Randy Orton versus Kane. At the end of the match, Kane was about to hit the choke slam. Daniel Bryan then comes out, which distracts Kane. Kane turns around, Randy hits the choke slam, goes for the cover, wins the matchup. And then came time for the Rock celebration. He comes out, and the highlight of his celebration, I guess, was he actually revealed a brand new WWE Championship belt. He says the title that John Cena introduced 8 years ago, it worked back then, and some people thought it was cool, but also some people, think Bigfoot exists or something like that. And then he shows the new championship title, and I don't know how I feel about this title. I don't think it looks all that great, really. Maybe it's just gonna take time to get used to it. I'm not sure if I like this better or the other one better. I don't know, but tell me in the comment section actually what you guys think of the brand new championship belt. Anyways, after he shows it, he talks about who he's going to face at WrestleMania. It's either going to be CM Punk or John Cena, and then he goes on and says there's one guy that brings out the best of The Rock, and he wants to face that guy at WrestleMania. That guy is, but before he says it, John Cena comes out. He doesn't come out with a microphone or anything. He comes out on the stage, looks at The Rock, and then from behind, CM Punk hits him with the original WWE Championship belt. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention, after The Rock introduced, the new title, he gave the other title to, this stagehand or whatever, somebody, and told him to bring it backstage and make sure he goes into the Hall of Fame. So I guess CM Punk grabbed it from him backstage. So yeah, CM Punk hits John Cena in the back with the title, and he then throws the title on the ground. And that's pretty much it for Raw tonight. So what did I think about Raw overall tonight? Any highlights? Highlights for me? I'd say Mark Henry mocking Khali's dance moves. And the Shield freaking beating Jericho, Ryback, and Sheamus. Another big victory for the Shield. And I love that springboard knee by Seth Rollins. So those are my highlights, I'd say. And as far as a rating for the show, I'd give it actually maybe a 6.5, actually maybe 7, yeah, 7 on 10. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, as always, you can click that like button. I'd really appreciate it, really helps me out. And tomorrow, the regular videos will be coming back, so online matches or whatever I decide to put up. So with that said, I'm out, guys, see ya.